Hey guys, this is Andy with Team of the Century and Century 21 Everest. Thank you for watching this video. We had a great time interviewing Jeff Comstock with Checkmark Home Inspections. We went over everything about inspections, some horror stories that he's had, some crazy stories and places that he's inspected. We go over why to get a home inspection and what makes a good home inspector and why you really need to be careful about who you're using when you do a home inspection. I think you're going to get a lot of good information out of this, especially if you're looking to buy a home or if you never got an inspection on your home in the first place. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks so much. Checkmark Home Inspections, they have done a ton of inspections for us, and Jeff does an amazing job. They do regular inspections, and they also do VA, which is a big deal. A lot of people aren't certified, and you have to have somebody certified. So we're going to go over what a home inspection is, all of the different details, some stories of some horror stories. I'm sure Jeff has been through a few really exciting houses. And yeah, we'll just talk about it, and we'll see what happens. So thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Dude, thanks for having me.
For sure. So hey, pull that up just a little bit. They're really sensitive. Like, you almost, right there is perfect. They're weird. Like this far away, and it's a totally different sound than this
good right here?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
So talking about home inspections, let's talk about some of the basic kind of stuff. Why would somebody get a home inspection? What's the point?
So, it's a good question.
Yeah.
And there's really not one answer. I have a couple answers.
Okay.
It really depends who you are and why are you coming to me for an inspection. So,
Gotcha.
What I mean by that is I have investors. They might have one reason why they're getting a home inspection, and then I have home buyers, single-family home buyers. So, I have a lot of investors that come to me, and they might have already walked the property with a contractor.
They have a good idea.
Guy. They know what's wrong.
Gotcha.
And they really just need a third pair of eyes, a third-party company, if you will, to put something together for them so that they could take to the negotiation table.
Okay. So it's leverage for those guys.
Definitely leverage.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Leverage. A lot of those guys, they know. They've done this enough. They know that the place has leaks, updates, whatever it needs, they know. So that's one aspect.
Okay.
The majority of my work, though, comes from, single-family home buyers.
Yeah.
And the most important reason in my eyes, why you would get a home inspection is this is typically the biggest purchase of most home buyers' lives.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, obviously the goal is to maybe buy another bigger one later.
Yeah, of course, right?
At this point in your life, this is probably the biggest purchase you've ever made, whether it be $200,000, $300,000, $1 million, on up. And in my eyes, a couple $100 for an inspection, definitely worth it.
It's a drop in the bucket compared to what you're saving, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you're going to be moving in here. You're moving your family in here. You're going to be living in here day in, day out. And it's super important to know what's going on in your house.
Gotcha.
A lot of things when you walk through a house, you miss.
Yeah.
When you're house hunting. Not to mention you might see 10 houses in a day.
Oh, man. And it gets so... we do that sometimes. We'll take people, as the real estate agents, we'll take them out. And by the time you get to house 6, you forget what house 1 really was.
Yeah.
And they get like, oh, that one had the garage. No, it had then they get all mixed up. So that's a really good point. You don't remember everything you saw when you spent 15 minutes there.
Oh, yeah. No, I get people that come through on the walkthrough, and they're like, oh, man, I thought this house had this. Or, oh, I didn't realize this house had 3-car garage. And I'm like, dude, you're already under contract. They see so many that they don't know. And you're walking through them so quick as a home buyer, you don't have time to check the water heaters and the furnace and the guts. So it's very important to get a home inspection. 9 times out of 10, the home inspection pays for itself with the repairs you get out of it. And that 1 out of 10 times, at least you get the peace of mind. Exactly. You know your house is good.
And you talk about, you don't have time to go check all that stuff. Mm-hmm. I know I can't check all that stuff. I'm a real estate agent for a reason because I am not able. That stuff is above my head. I don't understand. Like when you go talking water heater and how to check a furnace, like I can change the filter. That's pretty much my extent of my knowledge on a furnace. So that brings up a point. What? So why home inspections for you? And what did you do to get ready? Because I mean, like for me, I couldn't go be a home inspector because I'm not qualified. And that's another point. Let's talk about in a minute about qualifications. But why home inspections, and what did you do to become qualified to do these?
So I love that you asked this. Reason being is I don't know where all of our listeners are at, if they're in Utah or all over, but in Utah specifically, it's one of the few states that are left that you don't need any background in home inspections. You don't need background in home repairs. You don't need background in nothing. Anybody can start doing home inspections if they go license their company. And in fact, I've run into people who don't even license their company.
And when you say you're just talking about a business license?
Business license.
That's
Typical
it?
business license. So please ask.
Yeah, that's
First
crazy.
and foremost, ask if they're certified, whoever you use. Ask their background. Ask if they're certified. I personally know, and they're great people, but I personally know some close friends of mine who are now home inspecting, and now they have years of experience into them. But when they first got into home inspections, they have never picked up a tool.
Wow.
Never fixed a house. And they missed a lot. They missed a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it took them years on the field training of doing that. So.
And people count on you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know on my experience, we had a company before we had met you that was doing some home inspections, and people were really lit when things were missed, and come to find out that person either wasn't very experienced or just really had no business doing what they do.
Sure.
And people really count on the home inspection to make sure the house is what it is. That's a lot of responsibility for you. So why did you get into it?
So I got into it. My background is in home maintenance and repairs. I grew up in a family. My father's a general contractor.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing home maintenance and repairs for years.
Gotcha.
So I've personally fixed almost everything in a house. You know, pretty much the only thing I haven't done is put a brand new roof on a house.
So one thing I have
I've
done.
dabbled in a little bit of everything, kind of a jack of all trades, if you will. But I think doing what I did really gives me that advantage of looking at stuff. I'm able to troubleshoot right there on the spot and kind of figure out, okay, why do we have water damage? Where's it coming from? But yeah, so I did that for about 10 to 12 years, home maintenance and repairs. And then, funny story, I went to Vegas for NASCAR.
Nothing good happened in Vegas. It's all supposed to stay there. Come on, man.
Something good came out
You're
of
breaking
Vegas,
the rules.
and I took it home. And my girlfriend was not mad at me for taking it.
That's good. All right. That's awesome. Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
So I went down there, and I stayed at my cousin's house, and he owns Nevada Home Inspectors, and they're one of the biggest locally owned companies in Vegas.
Okay.
And he was a general contractor for years, and man, I just went with him to work, and I said, man, this is kind of where I want to be. I mean, I can do what I've always been doing. Look at houses. I love real estate. I could look for issues, but I don't have to get dirty and actually fix them. So I really just fell in love with it. I love real estate. I mean, me and you have talked. I love real estate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just thought, man, this is really where I want to be.
That's great.
I don't necessarily enjoy making all the repairs. I love finding repairs, and I love real estate, and that's kind of exactly what home inspections are.
Awesome.
So that's what took me there. And then, my company has just grown because I'm passionate about it.
Yeah,
People
you do a great job.
I'm passionate about it. I'm very thorough.
We know why.
So
you do a great job at home inspection.
Thank you.
There's no question why your company has grown as much as it has.
Well, thank you. I did want to touch on, having people in your house that are not certified.
Oh, you mean? Oh, yeah, okay.
So the reason why I want to touch on this is it personally almost affected my business.
Oh, really?
About 3 months ago, recent story. About 3
I didn't know
months
this
ago.
one.
Yep.
Okay.
About 3 or 4 months ago, I had a gentleman call me, very upset, and said, you guys were at my house. You inspected my house up in Ogden area. I believe it was Clearfield.
Okay.
You inspected my house out in Clearfield. It's been 4 or 5 weeks. He finally closed on the house. He moved into the house, and he's in the house, and he sees mold all over. The inspector missed electrical issues. A bunch of the outlets weren't working. There was just a list of items, and excuse me.
But by the way, that's your water too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if you want water.
Okay.
I don't want to take this away from you. If you want water, that's for you.
I have to have this to keep up with you.
I feel you. I got one too.
So, no, he had a list of issues, and if I put myself in his shoes, I'd be very upset as well.
Yeah.
You had an inspection, and the inspection said all was good, and then you move in the house, and you find a list of issues.
Well, the way you're talking about this is this guy.
This guy. And so what I mean by that is the gentleman that was calling me was just going off. And I said, I was first in my head going, man, I know. I couldn't have missed this.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that.
I'm a humble guy, but man, I make mistakes. But man, the list he had, he said there was mold all up the walls, and I'm like, there's no way I personally missed this. And I'm immediately thinking, one of my guys missed it. And so I'm fired up.
Crap.
And I said, please give me the address. I'll get back to you shortly. And if we missed it, we'll go ahead and we'll take care of it for you. And so I hang up from him. I look in our database of all of our inspections. We've never been on this guy's property. I call my guys. They never did a side job on this guy's property. We've never touched his property. But he was adamant that it was Checkmark. And so I called him back. And, well, before I called him back, I remembered there was a gentleman in Utah, I'm not going to say his name, but he was representing himself as Checkmark Inspected. Not Checkmark Home Inspections, but Checkmark Inspected.
Oh, no.
I was furious when I saw this because it's so close to my company name.
Yeah.
And I know that the state of Utah won't license two companies that close.
Yeah.
And so I pulled him up on the state of Utah. He's not licensed. He doesn't even have a business license. Okay, so people are cutting him checks in his name or writing him cash.
Oh, no.
I called that guy back.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, was the inspector on site so-and-so? And I said the guy's name that representing that other company. And he said, yes. I said, dude.
You got scammed.
I hate to tell you, but the guy who did your inspection is not Checkmark Home Inspections. It's Checkmark Inspected. And he's not licensed. Probably not insured because he's not licensed. And he says, well, what do I do? I said, well, obviously you can't go after him. You try to go after him personally, but there's probably limited things. Maybe you can call him back, and maybe he'll save his reputation, But
oh, my gosh.
So that's something I'm actually in the process of dealing with as we speak, just to try to get that type of stuff shut down. There's a few other big inspection companies here as well that's trying to move Utah up to the standard of the country.
Yeah, so is it, you said only a few states don't have it.
Yeah.
Why is that? What's the point? Like just
Utah's
freedom?
behind.
Freedom? What's the deal?
It blows my mind. I don't know why Utah's behind on some things. I'm from Los Angeles. I got trained in Las Vegas. And Nevada, their home inspector program is just like a general contractor. So you have to do a state test. You have to do so many continued hours. You have to be internationally certified by one of the two schools that are internationally certified schools. So I did all that, and then came back to Utah, and they're like, "Oh, you don't need that.
You don't need any of that." But I'm sure it helped you with leverage and everything to say that we're qualified and certified. That's crazy.
I don't want to name drop people, but the whole Gephardt. KSL. Most people in Utah know Gephardt.
Oh yeah.
About 2 years ago, they exposed home inspectors in Utah and how you don't need to be licensed, and how know who's in your home. And I know who's in your home. I can't say it better than that. It doesn't make sense, right? Know who's in your home. Know who's doing it. You don't take your car to a mechanic knowing that the guy can't fix a car. You go to take it to the mechanic because you trust that this guy knows the car inside and out, that he's licensed, that if somehow he burns your car down trying to fix a light bulb, he's going to replace the car.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, and not to put out there any names out there, but we know some mechanics that have some street ornaments.
So know who's in your home.
Yeah, for sure.
Make sure they're certified.
That's crazy.
People, a lot of people say they're certified. There's two main schools.
Okay.
The one that I'm certified through is Internachi.
Okay.
And then the other one is Ashi.
Okay,
A-S-H-I.
I would like to get those from you later because I'm going to tag those into this.
Yes, definitely.
For information for you.
Home buyers, just people interested, you can hop on their websites and type in the inspector's name and see if they're certified.
That's
and then
awesome.
if you're in the process of looking for a home inspector, you can hop on there and they will give you a list of certified home inspectors.
That's cool. Okay, so. Gotcha. Yeah, we'll get that. We'll tag it up in there. So we talked about why to be certified. So let's talk about when you actually go into a home and you get the inspection. Now, what do you look for when you're going in there, and what do you not look for? So sometimes I think home inspection, it's almost as important to say about what you're not going to do as what you are doing when you're in the home inspection, because I think there's misconceptions of what a home inspection is versus somebody who's going in and doing the repairs and doing all of these things. Like what are you doing versus what some of the expectations you've seen are?
Wow, expectations is a big word.
It is, and for different people, and that's why I asked it. For different people, it is a very different. The expectations are totally different.
Sure. What don't I look for? Well, I try to look for everything.
Of course.
What don't I do is, like you said, the actual repairs.
Yeah.
And, there's certain things that are not included in the standard home inspection that you can upgrade to, such as, a sewer camera scope.
Yes.
That type of stuff. And typically your inspector will say, hey, I see signs. Maybe you should stick a camera down here.
And we've done a bunch of the sewer stuff. And there's the sewer, there's mold, there's meth test, radon. So the sewer especially, what are your signs for that? So we'll go back to what you do when you're there, but while we're on the subject anyway, what are your signs for sewer? Because I know the signs for meth. I know obviously mold's fairly straightforward.
You know meth?
I know-ish the signs. Come on, man. We're editing that shit out right there. That is getting edited. Anyway.
Why do you know the signs of meth, Andy?
Should have wore a long sleeve shirt. Anyway.
Okay.
Okay. So, but what are the signs? So I have my thoughts on it, but I would be really curious to know when you look at a house or you look at the plumbing and that kind of thing, what are your signs for we should get the sewer scoped?
So, first thing is right when I pull up to a house.
Yeah.
I get out. I'm starting my report, putting the address in and all that. I hop out, take a picture of the front. When I'm looking at the front of the house, I always look to see if there's mature trees.
Yes.
Trees are one of the leading causes. It's probably the leading cause of your pipes getting broke, bursted, cracked. A lot of times the tree roots just bust right through and grow right through them.
Yeah.
And it might take a year or several years before you even realize that it's clogging up or leaking. So first thing I look for is mature trees. If the house has a bunch of mature trees in line with the front of the house to where the sewer typically is in front of the house out on the main street, it's normally a good sign that, hey, there might be something going on.
Yeah.
So you just keep that in the back of your head as you start going through the rest of the house. Second thing is which normally is caused by tree roots, is the concrete. If the concrete is buckled up, or even in some cases, if it's sunken down in line with where the water lines would be, then that typically is a sign that there could be a break.
It's kind of washed out dirt and it's settled down.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So those are my first things before I even enter the house. I'm checking that out.
Okay.
And then once I enter the house, the next big signs is how well are your drains draining. And we've all had, I don't know about we all, but definitely in my house, we've had hair clog up sinks.
Yeah.
And that is a sign. You're like, okay, this sink's clogging up. So what do? You go check another sink. You check the toilet and the bathtub. You check everything. And you go to the lowest point of the house. Or anything backing up. Is anything backing up in the lowest bathtub? If you have a basement, typically the shower or a floor drain by your utility closet will show signs that stuff's backing up.
Okay.
If it's more than one drain, and if it's your main drains in the basement backing up, get that thing snaked, because it's probably it's going to need a camera. It's going to probably need to be cleaned, and depending on what the issue is, it could either be a clog, or you could be looking at thousands and thousands of dollars.
It's not cheap to do. So, even when they talk about that they can run it without run the line and they burst it and run a new line without digging.
Yeah,
it's still unbelievably expensive.
You're still $5,000 to $10,000.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. We did a sewer line at my dad's house in Taylorsville that we did ourselves, and it's not fun. It's hard work. It's not fun to get down there. Like,
man, you did the whole thing, huh?
Yeah, we did it from where it came out of the house. It was a clay pipe, and we ran all the way towards the street where it wasn't broken anymore, and put in a new pipe with my dad. Sure. My dad's he's a stud that way. He knows how to do that. I don't know how to do it. Yeah. I can run a shovel. I'm solid at running a shovel. So
and if clay pipe, if you're buying an older house that has clay pipe, a lot of times for peace of mind's sake, it's good just to throw it down there and check it out. I know Utah's starting to update a lot of cities, and they're starting to help invest and pay for new lines.
Yeah, there's not in White City, in Sandy City, wasn't it, that they help pay for a sewer line?
Sandy,
right?
I did a house with you.
Yeah, we were talking about doing that.
It's a sewer line insurance.
That's right.
It's a sewer line insurance. It's very cheap. I think like $6-7 or something. They said
that's crazy.
And then if your sewer line happens to crack or break, it's insured.
The city comes out and fixes it.
And then you have other cities like Kearns. Out in Kearns, the area right around about 4800 West, in between 47th and 53rd, those older homes right there. Almost every street in that neighborhood, the city has come in and put new lines from where it connects to the city sewer all the way to your house. Not in
Really?
your house, but just to where it.
That's
where
amazing
it comes up, so.
because it is such a nightmare and a pain in the butt. And there's nothing. Once it happens, I mean, there's nothing you have to fix it. You can't not fix it in your house or don't run the water.
Yeah, I've seen houses that had broken lines for quite some times before they fixed it, and their crawl space that used to be about 1 foot to 2 feet deep, it's about 6 feet deep.
Are you for
and
real?
just smells. If you
I can't. No, I don't actually. I don't want to imagine that. That's terrible. Okay, so let's go back to. I apologize for interrupting you. Let's go back to when you start. You're coming out of a house and you're starting to look at stuff.
Okay, so you asked, what do I look for?
Yeah.
Obviously everything, but to be more clear, the standard home inspection, it's top to bottom, but it's generalist.
Yes.
We're generalists. We're not experts per se. We're not considered experts. So we're looking for any visual issues.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to say visuals as an inspector. You're supposed to say it's a visual inspection, but if you did a visual inspection only, you wouldn't be able to find anything. So we're checking, we're turning on waters, we're turning on the HVAC, we're popping the HVAC open. And when I say HVAC, the heating and air. A lot of people don't understand HVAC. So.
Yeah, heating and air
conditioning. I say HVAC, and a lot of my customers are like, what's that? So
yeah.
So, we're opening panels, the electric panel. We're taking them off to see if there's illegal electrical going on.
Which there usually is.
There is
almost in in 90% of the houses I go through. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about that later.
We're through your kitchen. We're checking all your appliances. We're running dishwashers, stove, oven, microwaves. You normally find me on your property drinking a coffee. I check your microwave to make sure it's warm. So
that's awesome.
These typical things. I literally try to run through everything. Every window, every door, every fireplace. We test at minimum 80% of the electrical outlets in the house.
Yeah.
And you never know. Today I went on a house that's only about 5 years old, and about 8 of the outlets, they obviously were running in line with each other, were ungrounded.
Really?
And so
that's crazy. On a newer house?
On a newer house. So obviously somewhere a ground wire has came off, and then the wires that run in line.
Yeah, because it passed inspection, original inspection. Okay.
So, and it's good to know because a homeowner would probably never check their outlets to see if they're grounded. I don't even know if I've checked my personal house. But it's important to have grounded electricity in case you have electrical, any type of TV, smart TV, anything plugged in there, and there's a power surge. Boom, your TV can get burned up. So very important to check all the outlets.
That's awesome. Okay, so you go through. And when you say visual inspection, what I think I've run into in the past is a lot of people. I like the way you said that, generalized inspection, because I think a lot of people expect, no, you're doing everything, like you're top to bottom. It's like, no, we're not. Like, if we see that, we're going to tell you that the outlet's out, but we're not pulling the wall out to know that it's a ground wire missing. That's the assumption. But yeah, a lot of people really, I think they think that you're pulling toilets off, and it's not that. Like, you're doing anything that can be visually inspected, and you're not. When you say it's a general inspection and you're not a professional in those things. But you know what you're doing.
Sure.
When you're certified, especially with your background, especially with your background, you can see something and you can go, "Hey, this wasn't done right."
Sure.
Like this fan wasn't installed correctly. I remember the house that I bought originally. There were three things that made me really mad. The home inspector had missed, and I don't even know if he was. I don't even know his name now.
Yeah.
But
I wish you would have known me back then.
I know. I wish I would have done it too. The ceiling fan in my bedroom didn't. If you turned it on, it's gonna hit. It just wobbles all over the place, right? It never. The fans, or not the fans. The wood blinds were broken. They taped them together, and there was never anything said about it.
See that a lot.
Yeah, it was crazy. They glued them. It was really good until I opened them, and then the dishwasher. The first time I washed it, the whole inside of it fell apart. Like they had just place stuff on.
So the inspector probably never turned it on.
Exactly, and I'm sure of that now. Yep. So that really frustrated me. So
no, you do a great job. How did that fan situation end up?
I never used it.
You never used it?
Huh? I was so mad because it was in the upstairs in my master bedroom, but if you turned it on, I think it's one of those ones that was installed, that's supposed to be installed on a vaulted ceiling, and if you turn it on, it wobbled so much that it would hit the ceiling. And I'm not gonna get.
Again, I'm not an expert, but I have installed a few fans. So with those fans, I always check the fans. The reason I check them as an inspector is because my father, I told you, was a general contractor. He was an electrician by trade, and so he used to install fans. I've installed several myself. People do remodels on houses, and they install these cute little ceiling fans, and they look cool, they add air, and what they don't do is they don't change out the actual box. The box in the ceiling that you can't see. If you're going to put a ceiling fan in there, there's a ceiling fan box.
Yeah.
If you try to throw it into a regular box that was holding up a $10 light,
yeah,
it's going to crack your ceiling. It's not going to
pull
pull white.
down,
it's going to wobble. And then again, a lot of the wobbling actually comes from, they make spacers. Between, you have the top of the fan part, you have a little, it's like a little plate that goes to the ceiling.
Yeah, I pulled it all apart and I can figure it out.
When you buy them, they come with little rubber spacers. And the spacers sit inside there. It's supposed to, they're like levelers.
Oh, okay.
And they level them out. So there's a few things, but most
like
importantly is to make sure it has a box in there.
Yeah, I think it had a box. It was the house wasn't that old, so I'm assuming it was. I don't know. You know what? I don't know though, because why would a home builder put in a fan that it was terrible?
Yeah. So if you don't tell the builder when you're building the house, hey, I want this to have a ceiling fan, it doesn't have one.
Yeah.
It's plain and simple. It has a regular light box up there. So
yeah, so my guess is they replaced it eventually, and then it did exactly what you said.
Run to Home Depot, buy a fan.
Yeah, and they don't put it in a box. Yeah, I agree. So, okay, so you go to a generalized inspection, and then at the end, you always do a walkthrough with us. So that's one of the biggest things for us that if you don't have time to go to the walkthrough as a home buyer, you probably shouldn't buy a house because it's so important. I am dead serious. Like, unless you absolutely can't make it, it's so important to be there because I've walked through a bunch of homes and I walked through them with the client to go see it. And you point out so many, like, I would have never seen these things or I would have never thought of those things looking at the homes.
Right.
So you do the home walkthrough. Talk about that. What do you go through when you're going through the home walkthrough? Because obviously you do these big reports. You obviously can't talk about everything.
Sure.
So what are you talking about when you do your walkthrough?
So I think walkthrough is huge. I think it's right up there. In some cases, it's just as important as the report.
Yeah.
With first-time home buyers, I think it's definitely just as important.
Yes.
As a report. A lot of first-time home buyers have never owned a house. Maybe they've been renting an apartment. Never changed a furnace filter, so that they don't even know where to change it.
Yeah.
And besides pointing out stuff when we're doing the walkthrough, as you know, I also point out helpful hints.
Home ownership.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have to recall this tub eventually.
I tell them change your furnace filter every 90 days, and they look at me like, "Oh man, I thought it was like every 2 years."
Yeah. For some people, it is.
I think walkthroughs are huge. I think the most important part for me when talking to my clients with the walkthrough is they understand the report.
Yeah.
And I don't get a bunch of callbacks.
No.
I hardly ever get a callback when I send them the report because they've already came to the walkthrough and they're not freaking out.
Yeah.
You'll see stuff on a standard home inspection report like in Utah, your stucco cracks, right? So you have settlements all over your stucco cracking. And if you didn't go to that walkthrough and actually have a conversation about it, you get the report and you're like, my house is falling apart.
Yeah,
it's falling
you guys have to repair all the stucco or I'm not buying the house, right?
Exactly. So I think it's very key to understand the issues that you're going on in your house. A lot of them sound worse on paper than they are.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that's something that we do when we walk through a home. Like if we walk through an older home and we talked about this. Yeah. We prep our clients, say, hey, you're buying a home that's built in the 60s. These were standard codes in the 60s, and are they standard code now? No. Should they be updated? Probably. If you're going to do any repairs on this, update it. You need to know that they're not what code is now, and there's a better way to do it. But if this was the end of the world, all of these houses in this whole neighborhood would be burning down because they're all built like this.
Yes.
So, no, it's not what we want it to be, but it's still safe. You're still okay. A lot of homes, like we talked about the double tap or the electrical.
Yes.
Every house, unless they just bought it, I feel like every house has been double tapped. Homeowners, they finish the basement, they don't want to run a new box, they double tap. And what we're talking about, explain double tapping. It'll be way more clear from you than me.
Well, in layman terms, it's if you ever looked at a breaker, where you have the two wires, two hots, going into one breaker that only has one pole.
Yeah.
You're only supposed to have one. That's probably the basic terms that I can put it in without talking electrical. So you don't need to. You can't have. It's illegal to have two going into the one pool. Some breakers have 2 pulls. If you have 2 going into one that has 2, you're good.
Yeah.
Just remember 1 for 1.
Yeah.
Anything more than 1, and I've seen 4 or 5 shoved into one.
It's crazy.
What happens is in theory, you have too many areas. You're pulling too much on that one breaker, and the breakers could burn up. It could trip. It could cause your wires to overheat. There's a whole host of problems that can come from it.
When it comes to that kind of stuff, though, so we're talking about like a slow drain, or we talk about galvanized pipe versus copper pipe, or whatever. That's how smart. I don't know what is a PVC or whatever it's supposed to be now. These older homes, they're built this way. They're still safe to live in. They're still okay. Do you want to upgrade those things? Yes. But how do you... So we prep our clients before we go to the home, saying, hey, he's going to give you a list of things that are going... It's going to sound like your house is falling apart, but it's not. And what are the really important things that you find that would be a deal killer if you were to buy this house and you were looking at your own home inspection? What are some deal killers for you that are absolute? This is like, hey, you guys really need to think about this and know about it, and then if you want to move forward, cool, but this is important.
Sure. The whole deal killer thing, I'm not a fan of.
Yeah. It's all personal opinion.
Me, personal opinion, but more than, for me, and I invest in properties as well, but for me, it's a numbers game, and if you have extra funds available and you're buying a house that's built in the 40s that might have this bad plumbing, but you're getting the house $30,000 below what it's worth, and plumbing's going to cost you $10,000, it could be a good deal. So that's why I don't like when people try to scare people out of deals.
Yeah.
We don't know your finances as inspectors. We don't know where you're sitting. We don't know what the house is worth.
Yes.
We're not the professionals of knowing what the house is worth. We don't know your bank account. So deal killers for me is very limited.
Okay.
There's a few things. I mean, if the house is about to fall down, okay, believe it or not, I've inspected several houses in Utah that were about to fall down.
Really?
So one particular house is in Midvale. Well, it was in Midvale. They tore it down.
It fell down.
It was
gone.
107 years old, and
awesome.
They had painted the whole outside of the house, right? Painted it thick paint. And upon arriving, I saw what looked like red sand coming out of this paint. So I walk over, I kick it, and the brick just deteriorates. And this has happened on a few houses. I think a few of them are still standing.
Really?
But this particular one, they tore down. But
crazy.
I walked around. I started just walking around to random places on the house, just kicking the painted brick. And every time, it's old school test, right? You just kick it. I'd kick the brick would crumble into sand. And it was a matter of time for one little seismic shift or something. This house is coming down.
Oh,
so
man.
There's a few things, very few.
Yeah.
There's a few things that are complete deal killers for me, and that's one of them. One of the big ones for my buyers that, and again, I don't like to say deal killer because a lot of the times, in a lot of my cases, stuff like knob and tube wiring, which is illegal wiring. We have a lot of stuff that's not up to code, but knob and tube is illegal wiring.
Really? So you can't have it anymore?
Well, if it's there...
Yeah, because we had one in
but the second you start working on it, you're supposed to upgrade.
Yeah, once you touch it,
it's like asbestos in your attic.
Asbestos
in your attic not being touched is not going to harm you. The second you touch it, you have to remove it.
Yeah.
And so you can't add insulation to your house without removing the asbestos.
And it's not cheap to remove asbestos, right?
You can't update your electrical in your house without removing the asbestos. You can't put a new roof on without removing asbestos. So there's a few things like asbestos, knob and tube that are right up there because they're costly to do.
Yeah.
But if you take my inspection, a lot of people take my inspection back to the drawing board. They take it to the sellers, and the sellers say, we'll either fix the wiring or we'll give you price off so you can fix the wiring.
So, we use that. We go to clients, we go to other agents and say, hey, this is a major issue. You can't get away from this. This isn't an opinion. This is fact. Like it's not like, hey, I hate the color.
Right.
This is dangerous. It's radon. It's that stuff. That's crazy stuff, right? I mean, that if you're going to have to do anything, this needs to be fixed first. So, okay. So what about I know a lot of people crack foundations a big deal.
Yeah. So when it comes to foundations, to me, you have two type of cracks. You have settlement cracks, and I guess they're all kind of settlement cracks, but you have typical settlement cracks. that are vertical.
Yeah, concrete cracks.
Super common.
Yeah.
You know, I live in Draper on the mountainside, and my house is only 19 years old. I have more cracks than a lot of the houses I go on that are built in the 50s. Okay, the mountain shifts. If you live by a mountain, you know what I'm talking about. It shifts and the foundation shifts. So I have a lot of typical cracks in my house. That does not mean my house is unsafe to live in. I don't feel afraid, and the cracks are not allowing water in.
Yeah.
So I'm good.
That's a big deal. Yeah.
Okay. Typical rule of thumb is on any cracks, if they get over 1/8 of an inch
in width.
Okay. Get them sealed up. Have a contractor come out. They could seal the cracks. You don't want a big crack exposed because water and air will get in there, and it will make the cracks expand.
Yeah, it'll freeze and expand.
That's one crack, and pretty much if you see your cracks like that, even if they get bigger, you just want to seal them up and be good. The cracks to worry about are horizontal cracks. If you have horizontal cracks in your foundation, you want to get a structural guy out there, get a contractor out there, somebody who knows what they're talking about, and have them check out the integrity of your wall.
Gotcha.
A lot of horizontal cracks are due to the wall is not supporting the weight above it.
Oh, really?
So sometimes
that's scary.
Sometimes you see in older houses, they've added a second story on, or I've seen a lot of houses that have 7 layers of roof. So your house wasn't built for that weight.
Yeah.
I've seen houses where they've installed some heavy tubs or built a bathroom above an area that's not supposed to have it. I seen a house in Daybreak. It was only 2 years old, condo. They put a hot tub on the 3rd floor and did not restructure it. And they put the hot tub on the 3rd floor balcony. And 2 floors below is the front room, super tall ceilings, like 20-foot ceilings.
Wow.
And where the windows were all on the wall, big, beautiful windows, all the windows had bowed and cracked. So
they had some major issues in Daybreak for a while with some stuff. There's been some lawsuits out there. We actually stopped. We had a lot of people wanted to move out there. We can't show you any homes out there right now. Yeah,
it's crazy. They actually, I don't know how long they've been doing it, but they just got me and some of my guys on board finally inspecting some of the houses.
Oh, really?
It is crazy. You've met one of my guys, Keith.
Yeah. So he does the V8.
Yes, and he handles the Daybreak jobs, and when he started taking over they would do like midway through, like so. The first inspection was done by Joe Blow, and they fired that guy.
Yeah.
Now they have us in there, or Keith in there, and it's just like, man, how do you miss? How'd the first guy miss?
There's some
all
stuff here that's pretty well because he's not certified. He doesn't have the experience you guys have.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there, but hit back on the foundation cracks. If they're horizontal,
that's a big deal.
Get them checked out.
Gotcha.
Whenever I come across a property that has horizontal cracks, as much as I don't like to say you have to spend more money, it's like, hey, you need to get a structural guy or have the sellers pay for a structural guy.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of having a home inspection is to have it done right away so you don't have to deal with those things because that's a big deal. I mean, that's huge. Huge.
And while we touch on foundation in older houses, a lot of the older houses were built with that sandstone.
Yeah, those are so strange and freaks me out.
And it looks really scary.
But then again, it's been there for 100 years.
It's been there for over 100 years, and it has not fallen. But that doesn't mean there's ways to upkeep them. So there's ways to help seal them. There's like a slurry type coat that goes over them.
Okay.
Kind of binds it all together.
That's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So just watch your foundation. I mean, it's holding up your house.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Let's talk about, so radon is a big deal in Utah. And you guys do a test on every house, right? It's part of what you do if it has a basement.
So we offer a test on every house, and it's up to the people if they want to do it or not.
Gotcha.
We teamed up with a local company here that is a very large radon company.
Yeah.
Utah Radon Services. I'll give them a shout out.
They do a good job. We've used them to put in radon systems.
And I'm very privileged to be their go-to guy, and we set enough tests for them that we have worked out a deal where I get my test done by them for free, and instead of charging my customers that, I pass that deal on to my customers.
That's awesome.
So my customers are able to reach out to them, get a free radon test, and I recommend it on every house with a basement.
Yeah.
Reason being is radon comes from the soil. It's a gas, and it finds its way in through basements.
Gotcha.
Utah has one of the highest readings of radon across the whole state, and that's because we dig down, we build basements. So
a lot of places don't have basements.
Right, and you might have a house next door to you that's slab on grade, no basement, and then your house has a basement, and you might have a high reading, and your neighbors don't.
Yeah, and it's so hit and miss, but it's free. It's scary. Like it's something that if you have, it should be taken care of. And the mitigation process, thankfully, it's not outrageously expensive. It's not cheap, but it's not crazy money. I mean, it's $1,200, $1,500.
It's the cheapest mitigation out of the main things that you have to mitigate. So.
Yeah, so you do radon, and if you find it, it's. I know that the companies, if it's over 2.0, and I don't know what that means, but that's the reading that they use. I don't know, like parts per million. Well, anything over 2.0, they recommend doing it, and then anything over 4.0, the federal government has actually come out and said, this is unsafe, you need to do this. And now it becomes an issue where if the person doesn't report it on their seller's disclosures, if your buyer cancels, that's a big deal. So those are the issues. That's one of the other issues that we go across is that we use a home inspection. People now know that these are issues. Right. And so they need to disclose them on the seller's disclosures when they're selling. So you do radon. Then,
and I just want people to know before we move on to the next test, radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer.
Behind smoking.
Yeah. In the United States.
That's crazy to me.
It's even higher ratio in Utah.
Yeah.
Just
I can only imagine.
People that smoke. Mm-hmm. And it's not only the second leading cause, it's the second leading cause of death, of lung cancer death, next to smoking.
Holy cow.
So it's a big thing. If you have a basement, if you're spending time in the basement, get it tested.
Get it checked.
For sure.
Yeah, it's not expensive. It's not hard. You just set a test in there for a few days. They come pick it up.
Yep.
They test it. It's not hard to do, and it's good to know.
Yep.
And so if you guys, it's Utah Radon Services.
Utah Radon Services.
Give them a call if you're not getting a home inspection, but you do have a basement. Give them a call. My guess is they'll still come out and probably do it for free anyway to make sure that you're protected, because the test is the test. They're not lying to you if it's high. They're not lying to you if it's low. It just is what it is. So they can put together a system for you to get it mitigated. So okay. So you do the radon.
Yep.
And then one of the other tests that we have, and we recommend whenever a property's been a rental, especially in Utah, it's surprising a lot of people don't know this. Utah is huge in meth.
Yes, one of the highest per capita.
It's crazy. Yep. And so anytime that we have a buyer that we're representing that's going to look at a house, and we know it's been a rental, it's one of the things that we know about, we always suggest them getting a meth test, because it's crazy.
Yeah, and rental is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And so everybody's clear, the reason why, if your house is a rental, get it tested is because a lot of the times the homeowners don't live near the house.
Yep. They have no idea.
They don't even live in the state a lot of the time. Some live out of the country. Even if they live in the state, they're not pestering their tenants, so they're not in their house all the time. You don't know what's going on. You don't live there as the investor who owns that house. So people could be smoking meth in your house. They could be producing it, smoking it, whatever. So if your house is a rental that you're looking at, get it tested for meth.
Clint literally just went to a house. He's pretty sure they were smoking meth while he was walking his client through the house. I'm not kidding. That is so true. It was a house we went to go look at and tour with the buyer, and the renters wouldn't leave the house, which is sometimes happens. Literally, they left. They were only there for a few minutes because they had a little kid with them. We're like, we're not going to expose our child to this. We're pretty sure that they were smoking, and it's crazy. It's such a high use in Utah. So what's the test? How do they test? What do you guys do?
So typically, not typically, standard, we always at least test the HVAC.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know that. They think the old school test was, you took wall samples, right?
Mm-hmm.
We still do wall samples, but at bare minimum, we're testing the HVAC. We test the return air duct, buy some heat registers, and then some random walls. But the particles, the meth particles, I'm not a scientist.
Me neither. You're good.
But, it gets sucked into your HVAC system through the return air and then gets blown around your house. So if you mitigate your house by cleaning all your walls, put new carpet in and all that, but you don't get your ducts cleaned and the place was positive for meth, crank that heater on, bam, your house is contaminated again.
Yeah.
So we start off by testing the HVAC duct, always.
Okay.
If there's not an HVAC duct, then we're testing the walls. Typically, we'll do 2 to 4 tests at a house, and you'd be surprised. Over 50% of the houses we test come back with at least little bits of trace.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about that, because I think some cleaning products have the same chemical. So some of those, you get some not false positives because it's still there, but it's from a cleaning product versus meth. Because meth, and I don't know how to cook meth. Feel your judgment. I don't know how to cook meth. But some of those things are common household items that they use for that. So you might get a trace, but if somebody was smoking meth in the house, I mean, it's fairly obvious.
Right. And so the EPA, and the health department, they have set a guideline that says for every 100 centimeters you test, which each test sample is supposed to be 100 centimeters, right? Every 100 centimeters that you test, you're allowed a 1.0 reading. Okay, you test 3 areas, you're allowed up to a 3.0. Anything over 3.0 is deemed unsafe. Under 3.0 is deemed safe. Yeah. If somebody's been smoking meth in this house for 1 year, they rented it out, smoked it for 1 year, you're going to get a reading higher than the EPA says. Yeah. Okay. If your levels are maybe 1.5 out of 3, chances are somebody has walked through there and smoked some meth at some point. It's not a false reading. You know what I mean? Yeah. If they come back at like 0.04 or 0.5 or something, it's
probably clean.
Anything under 0.1 is normally non-detect. Yeah. If it comes back over that limit, the way we do our testing is a third-party company actually does it.
Yeah, this is one of the things I love that you guys do.
They're licensed meth testers and meth mitigators here in Utah, so there's no way of getting around it. Yep. If your buyers have their house tested, the house comes back over the legal limit. Health department comes in and makes the sellers pay to get it mitigated. Yes. They make it safe. If the seller, or even if your buyers decided we don't want this house, we move on, those sellers are still...
They're responsible now.
They have to.
Because they basically remove residency. They change the locks. Sure. They remove you from the house. You can't live there anymore.
Can't live there, can't sell it, can't do transactions on it. And it has to get mitigated.
And while that puts some sellers in some tough spots, especially people that have renters, it's the right thing to do. And it protects the public. It protects little kids who are going to go live in those houses and have all of these problems from the meth that somebody else smoked in there, and you decided not to do anything. It's such a big deal for a buyer.
And I'm, like I said, my family and I, we have investment properties, and I get that side of it as an investor or as a seller. I mean,
that would suck.
Like, man, I didn't smoke meth in this house. Yeah. I was just renting it out, and now I'm hit. Yep. But that comes with the game of renting out properties. You got to know who your tenants are.
It's just the right thing to do, man.
It's the right thing to do, especially with kids. I recently just did, and it was actually for an investor. He was buying a fourplex in West Valley, and the place was completely empty. It was vacant, all four units, and I knew right away there's signs, which I definitely think we should talk about the signs. So when buyers are walking through houses. There's like a cat pee ammonia type smell. Yeah. When there's high quantities of meth, and if you smell that, and especially if you're in there for any amount of time, I start getting sick. I get headaches. I get weird. I get weird.
There's an on the end of that.
But I was inspecting this fourplex. Okay. And the first unit, it had been remodeled, looked pretty clean. I get into the second unit, and I just started getting nauseous. I got a headache. Started feeling weird. I could smell an odd type chemical ammonia type smell. By the third unit, I could smell it bad. And it's a fourplex, but they're all separate units. Yeah. And the fourth one, I smelled it. And I started like, man, this is just me. What's going on?
Yeah, what's the deal?
And my meth testing guy, Stockton Maddox, meth mitigation testing, they came. And right when they got in that remodeled unit, he showed me the first sign that, hey, this is probably positive. I said, well, how do you know? He said, none of the ducts have been cleaned. The furnace hasn't been cleaned, but the return air duct where all the meth testers test, they had took off the screws and spotless cleaned this return air duct with chemicals. So they figured someone would come in there, swab it. They're going to swab the new painted walls. Test is going to come back 0. Thank God my guy has been doing it for a while. He knows the tricks. Yeah. So he opened up the furnace and actually tested inside the furnace, tested some areas that they couldn't have painted or cleaned. And that fourplex to this date is the highest level reading I've ever
Really?
had. So, it came back in the hundreds on 2 of the units.
Are you serious?
In the hundreds.
So they were cooking meth.
It looked like one of the units. If I was just putting a story together based on numbers, it looked like there was one unit that was cooking it and selling it to the rest.
Oh my! So well, that's one business model.
The investors got there that day to do the walkthrough. Yep. And the investor had brought his cousin, and the cousin had a 6-week-old baby. And I had to stop him at the front door. And I said, hey, it's actually the first time I've ever had to do this, but I don't feel safe with your baby in this house.
Yeah.
There's a possible, and that's before I even had the test results
yeah.
back.
Oh, yeah.
I said, there's signs and there's smells, and I don't feel comfortable with you having your child in this house. And they were so grateful that I stopped.
Because it's the right thing.
Oh, the birth defects and the permanent damage and stuff that it can cause is just insane. So
it's such a good thing. If you have
a rental,
always on the rentals, and even if you don't, if your inspector says, like I know you've told us when you see mold or something like that, hey, you should do this, but always on a rental. 100% of the time, because a lot of people do exactly what you're saying. They'll go repaint the walls, they'll go do those things, and if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss all of those signs. So 100% of the time on rentals, and it's what, $120, $150?
$150 on average, $125. Depending on if you do an inspection package, there's cheaper deals. But
it's so worth it. Oh my gosh, it's
so worth it. And honestly, for me, I look also for investors. You know, a lot of investors don't like to do it, and they have this.
Because if I don't know, I don't have to disclose it. I've heard that.
And I always like to tell them, like, dude, when you go to resell your property, if those people test it and it comes back high,
you still have to fix it.
Now you have to pay for it again.
Yeah.
So
and
you might
think
as well
about
try
the people
to get
you
the current sellers to pay for it. So
when you put those other people who rented from you in a bad position,
and
they don't
your
know.
Tenants go get it tested, and it comes up positive, and then you're liable for those whatever
and
medical bills.
It's not cheap to get that done, but we've done. Last year we did 3 homes that had meth that we actually ended up helping the buyer still purchase, because when a meth company goes in there and cleans it, it is the health department comes back in and recertifies it. It's cleaner than if they had never smoked meth in there before. Now they rip the carpet out, they scrub the walls, they pull the whole HVAC system apart and clean everything. It is cleaned, but it is a pain in the butt. But just because it had meth, if you get it mitigated, it's 100% safe to live in from the point of view of meth.
The health department comes back after it's been cleaned and makes you do a bunch of retests just to make sure.
And there's no way that it's so much better. So we've done 3 of them. We did 3 of them last year, and they did a great job. So yeah, absolutely. So on the mold test, obviously the signs are there's some leakage or some of that, but there's a lot of houses that we see that there was a leak, and we don't do a mold test. It's not recommended. What's the difference between having had a leak and not doing a mold test versus doing a mold test? What's the sign? What's the tipping point for you?
I mean, for me, I did home repairs for years.
Yeah.
So I've been inside homes. I've fixed leaks. I've fixed mold, and I've personally been hands-on with that. So if a seller disclosure comes back and they say, hey, this place had leaks, right? I go into it. Okay, let me check these areas. But even if the seller disclosures, and we both know a lot of sellers' disclosures don't say anything. Yeah. Even if the seller's disclosures don't say that, I'm still checking your water for leaks. Yeah. Okay, I'm still checking these areas. It's a used house, right? Used house, maybe be 10, 15, 50 years old. Your house has leaks over those times. You can't expect the house not to have leaks over 50 years. It happens. It's all about how they fixed it, or even if they fixed it. And what I mean by fix is the actual damage. Yeah. So if something on a seller disclosure says, hey, kitchen sink leaked in 2005, sink was repaired. Okay, well, did they repair the cabinet? Did they fix the water damage on the wall? Did it leak downstairs? Did they fix the ceiling? You know, these are all the things I started looking at. And you could do a mold test to check. You can do infrared camera to see if, there's any moisture still sitting up in there, what's going on. You could do moisture in the wood checks. Yeah. So there's a list of things you can go from there, but typically you'll see moisture damage on the wall still. You'll see mildew, you'll see mold. I mean, you've seen how many times we've actually seen pictures of mold.
Oh, yeah, and the smell, I mean, you could smell it.
The dampness.
Yeah.
A big one for mold tests, or for looking for mold, I think a lot of inspectors miss sometimes, is mold in the attic.
Really? Like up on the sheeting?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and a lot of the times this is caused by condensation that forms inside there, either due to lack of ventilation, lack of insulation, so the attic's super cold, and then you have your heater cranked on, right? And then
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I've seen that.
I wouldn't have thought of that.
Yeah, I recently went into a house, and the signs for that is I recently went into a house in West Valley, and they just did a full flip of the house, remodeled, nice. Yeah. Okay, but I walk in, I see moisture on the windows, not in between the panes.
But on the interior?
I see moisture on the interior of the windows.
Okay.
I started seeing moisture on the ceiling. And so there's actual wet spots.
Like a bathroom after it doesn't have a fan.
Through the whole house.
That's
exactly.
weird. Okay.
So I popped my head into the attic, and it is just caked with mold. The whole entire attic.
Okay. So you got to get a mask on and all that at that point? Oh, that's
no
terrible.
Insulation, very poor ventilation. And they had installed this brand new furnace. And this thing is just cranking.
Super efficient.
The house isn't venting anywhere. Every window's closed. Nobody's living in it. And it was just a bad set of circumstances for that house. I had created mold.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that aren't aware of how important the ventilation in your house. Like, it cannot be airtight. If it is airtight, you're going to have those kind of issues.
Yep.
And it needs to have airflow.
You have to have fresh air.
Yeah, it's not going to work out.
Yep.
So. Okay, so we've hit the main things that you typically, at least in my experience so far, has been the things that you are additional inspections that may need to happen. Any horror stories, like the craziest things that you've seen in a home inspection? I know you've seen a lot of stuff.
I hope this agent ends up watching this. He's with a different firm, but I hope he ends up watching this because we laugh about it all the time to this day. So this particular agent is a good friend of mine. I actually went to high school with this guy, and we've just had a great friendship. We had a great friendship back then, and now he's a real estate agent. I'm a home inspector, so it's just continued.
Gotcha.
But he called in a favor, and it's always the favors that are the crazy ones.
Yeah, I hear you.
And, he had an out-of-state owner, an out-of-state seller that had recently acquired one of his family's properties. And this is my craziest story. So
Gotcha.
I had a lot of other crazy stories, but this is probably one of the craziest. So his grandfather had just passed this out-of-state buyer, and he knew the property was in Ogden. The guy hadn't been there since he was like 12, 14 years old. He was now like 30, and his grandfather had passed, and all he knew was that his family member, his uncle, was living in this house, and he had suspicion that his uncle was under the influence of some illegal drugs. So he said, hey, I'm flying in on the state, and he wanted my buddy, who's the real estate agent, and myself to come and pre-inspect the property.
Gotcha.
Right?
Which is awesome.
We'll touch
idea.
on that. Yeah, we'll touch on that in a
idea.
second. But we come to pre-inspect the property so that he can know what he needs to do to put it on the market, see if it was even worth selling. And he was just trying to get out of it. He was just trying to get the banknote paid for and let the investor take it. So he wanted to see what was going on. So we show up there, me, Keith, my guy Keith, and the agent and the seller. And we show up, and it had all your typical signs of a sketchy house. It had a few gentlemen that were probably in their 40s on BMX bikes out front drinking liquor, and we probably should have had a cop go with us.
Yeah, and you can do that.
And I think you've seen some videos. We've had some escorts. So so we get there, and the guy knew that it was his uncle that was living there, and his uncle friends, and so. We get in the house, and there was at least 10 people in the front room, and this horrible smell right when we get there, and they were smoking crack.
Oh my gosh.
When we got there.
While you were there?
Yep, and the front room was filled with, car stereo parts, bicycles. This is obviously stolen items.
Oh my gosh.
And we get in there, and it's a whole bad thing. And the agent, who's my friend, bless his heart, he has never even been around this type of stuff whatsoever.
He didn't grow up that way, huh?
And he was actually thinking about buying it, paying the note off of this house. And so
nice.
We go down to the basement, and there's about 15 5-gallon buckets of water, right? 15 5-gallon buckets. And my buddy says, hey, why do they have all these buckets of water down here? Do they have a leak somewhere? And I said, just because I've seen it before, I said, no, dude, people typically use this because the water's been turned off to the property. They're not paying the bills. And so we walk over, sure enough, water's off. So they're using buckets to shower, right?
Oh, my gosh.
The basement was probably about 1,000 square feet. They made it into 5 bedrooms. You just had a hallway with 5 bedrooms. Each bedroom had a hotel number on it, right? And the uncle was subleasing out each one of these rooms. Just one room. We open up one door, 2 guys in there just smoking away on some meth. It looked like meth or crack or something. Gosh. And the agent disappears, right? He goes back upstairs, and I'm trying to walk through the house, take some pictures and stuff, and he texts me.
He just left you alone?
We've only been there 5 minutes. He texts me, he says, hey, please meet me upstairs out back. So I go upstairs, go out back, and he's like, hey, dude, I'm sorry for wasting your time. we're done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's crazy.
So that was one of the worst house I've been into.
Wow.
So, yeah, now I've gone into houses that I've gone on to some that, the people did not want to do a meth test, and it was a rental property, and I walked into that. The people were there. The tenants was there. I said, hey, I'm here for the inspection. They already had a 24-hour notice. They knew I was coming.
Yeah.
Gentleman lets me into his house. I walk into his bathroom, and he's got bags of meth and loaded meth pipe laying out on the counter. And so I just
snap a picture.
Snap a photo of it. I'm like, you sure you don't want this place tested? And the agent's like, oh man, we definitely need to test it now.
Oh my gosh.
And it came back super high. But
I can imagine.
I couldn't imagine these gentlemen, whatever mindset he was in, to let me in his house.
Yeah, why would you?
With that out in the open.
It's amazing. You know what though? If you're doing that stuff, you're probably not. All your wheels aren't on.
So definitely drug houses are scary and crazy stories. And then, a lot of the stuff that I see that I think is very important, which goes in line with being important to get a home inspection, is I can't tell you how many houses I go on where people list the house as fully updated plumbing, fully updated electrical.
I replaced the sink. It's
I
fully
get there,
updated.
and I recently did one in Rose Park, and fully updated plumbing, right? Yeah. And it was on the listing agent company was that online company that doesn't put eyes on it.
Gotcha.
And so the seller had to fill out all their own paperwork, and they put fully updated plumbing. And I open up the first cabinet. It has brand new plastic lines that go right into the drywall, which then connects straight into the galvanized, right? And
because it's new, as long as you can't see it.
90% of the house was galvanized.
Yeah.
And there was leaks, and there was old plumbing, the original plumbing throughout the whole house, and it said fully updated. And when the buyers got there, it really...
It's a turn
was
off.
like, man, I was going into this house at this price point thinking that this was fully updated.
Yeah.
So, and you see it with electrical, where they update everything in the walls. I had a house in Ogden that where...
We love you, Ogden.
You pop out the outlet, and it has new electrical in the outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Has new electrical at the panel.
It's all been spliced.
They've spliced it in the walls with old knob and tube. So
with
it's
knob
illegal.
and tube?
It can catch fire.
Oh my gosh, you're overloading the tar out of those.
So
wow,
get it inspected. Because if it says it, doesn't always mean it's...
And it's so tough because there's no way to know. There's no way if you're like someone like myself who I'm not. If I looked at a box and it looks like they put a new cover on, it looks new to me. Like I have no idea.
There's a lot of people like yourself. That particular Rose Park one, that gentleman actually had only lived there a year. The people before him fully remodeled the house.
Yeah.
And he bought the house under the assumption it was fully remodeled. He doesn't know plumbing. He doesn't know any of this. So then now a year later he goes to sell it.
Yeah.
These people get an inspection.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey bro, your plumbing is not.
Yeah. That's so tough. It's so worth getting done. It doesn't make sense not to for the price. So what's your pricing right now for a home inspection? Most homes are under 4,000 square feet. And what's your tiers? How's your square footage?
So, industry average is up to 2,000 square feet, have a set price. Mine is up to 3,000. So right now, $250 up to 3,000 square feet is up to 3,000 is $250, flat rate.
That's awesome.
That's the general inspection. And then we have the add-ons where if you want the meth, if you want the meth,
if you would like meth, I know a house with a guy in the bathroom.
If you like meth testing, that's an additional $125 to $150. If you have multiple furnaces, it can go up from there. Mold test, $125, and there's a whole list of it. Whenever I get in contact with buyers, I shoot them over the list and give them some time to think about what they want to get done.
Yeah.
So standard inspections $250 up to $3,000, and then anything over $3,000 is only 9 cents.
That's per square foot.
So
that's awesome. That's a great way to do it.
Average is 10 cents, and so I'm still below average, and I just think that a lot of the pricing locally is just unjustified. So
and you kill it, and you do it. I mean, we call you. You're there within a few days, which is a lot of times not how it works with other places. We were using a couple of other home inspectors before, and you've crushed it for us.
You guys
we don't call anybody else. Like it's just you guys.
So thank you.
Yeah,
don't
you
make
guys
me blush.
Yeah.
No, I enjoy working with you guys because you guys kill it.
Thank you.
I have a lot of agents who call me today and say deadline's tomorrow, I need an inspection. And no hate to those guys. I love them very much.
We'll still do it.
I love them very much, and I purposely set my schedule and my guy's schedule that we can do last minute.
Yeah.
I think that last minute's huge. I win clients over all the time because they call other inspectors and they're 10 days out. And so we set our schedules allowing last minute inspections every single day of the week.
That's awesome.
But you guys, one of my favorites, because you guys call me when there's still like 10 days to decide.
Oh, dude, we call our home inspection, we go under contract, and if it's not the same day, it's the next day that we call you, because we know that needs to be done before the due diligence deadline.
Yeah.
In order for it to really be something that we have as a leverage. Now, it's good to get done, even if it's after due diligence, you still need to get it done.
Sure.
But we can use that and those repairs like we talked about in order to leverage a better deal for our buyer. I mean, we go into homes, the way that we look at it is if we go into a home and the carpet's crap, or we go into a home and we saw that there was leaking here, right? And we knew that when we put in the offer. Then we don't expect the home seller to repair those things, even though we know that, because we knew it was an issue when we put the offer in. What you guys do is you go in there and you go show us the stuff that there's no way we would have ever known. When we put in the offer thinking the furnace was good, and now we know it's not, now it's something that we need to get repaired. And that's what we use the home inspection for. So if we wait until after due diligence, it's no longer a point of leverage for us to get it done. Sure. It's so important to get it done. The last minute thing, that just gives me anxiety thinking about it, because it's such a big deal.
And if you ever have last minutes, we're here.
Yeah, I know. You guys do great.
But we do appreciate you guys giving us enough time where we're not panicked to get you guys in. You know, and then even if it goes after due diligence, or if you're not worried about due diligence, if I have a lot of cash buyers buying as is, and they still get an inspection. And I think that's something that buyers should know. A lot of buyers think, well, I'm buying it as is, why should I get an inspection? Well, why?
That's a great point.
Do you buy your car without looking at it?
Yep.
Even if it's as is, I'm going to take it around the corner and make sure this thing drives, the wheels aren't falling off. So
it gives you a list of things to repair.
Yeah, exactly.
It gives you a list of, hey, this is what needs to happen. And so at least you have a starting point. I think a lot of the people, when we do home inspections and we buy a house, that's such a good point, is they go to we get a couple of things repaired. But now they have a list in their hands as they're going through their house and they're living there. I can now get these and things inspected. I know what's important here, what's not important, and what I can do little bit by bit. It's such a big deal.
I have people, I mean, we're not like a one and done company. I have my numbers on that report. You can call us anytime. I'm very connected.
Yes.
In the home maintenance, the general contracting, anything with your house field.
Yep.
So
we call you all the time for that stuff.
I have buyers that call me 2 years later, and they're like, hey, dude, you did my inspection 2 years ago. On the report, I had this thing. We're actually going to finally get it repaired. What do you recommend we should do? Do you know anybody?
That's awesome.
And, you know, I can give out some recommendations of who to go to. So,
and I think another thing, maybe we've never talked about this, but an idea that just came to me: people, if you own a house and you've lived there for 10 years, get it inspected.
Yep.
Now you have a list of these are the things. If you didn't get it inspected before, at least have the peace of mind knowing what's wrong or what's not wrong. Hopefully,
it's a routine checkup.
Yeah, it makes so much sense to do.
And then the other type would be what we were talking about earlier, is the pre-listing inspections.
Why get a pre-listing
inspection? I'm pushing these inspections, but I'm pushing these inspections, dude. Like,
I get it.
I can't tell you. I'm not 9 out of 10. 10 out of 10 of the people I do pre-listing inspections for. So what do I mean by pre-listing is you're getting ready to sell your house. You're about to put it on the market. You call me out. I inspect the house. What does that do for you? One, you now know what to expect when your buyers get an inspection.
Yeah.
If they want an inspection at that point.
Yeah.
But two, it gives you a list of things that are wrong with your house. So you know what's going on with your house, and you can fix some of those items that might scare away a buyer. Yeah. You can fix some of those items before you have your open house Saturday. Yep. You know, and it might be little things. A lot of times there are a bunch of little stuff. You fix them, the open house comes. What we provide is we provide you with a report. The first report on a pre-inspection is the one with all the repairs. Mm-hmm. And then if you decide that you're going to repair a bunch of the stuff, we come back out. We re-inspect the items that you fixed. Nice. And we print you back out a new inspection report that has all those things fixed. So they're gone. They're not even on the report no more. That's awesome. When you do an open house, you set the inspection out on the counter. Everyone can see it. The buyers get to see the inspection. Dude, that's such a great idea. And 10 out of 10 of the people that do it said it helped them sell their house faster.
No, that makes perfect sense. Like, to be able to go back through and do that. Yeah. I think the other thing that we need to talk about, and obviously we're not going to figure this out here. We need to get together with the home warranty company, because your home inspection, if you get a home warranty when you're selling a house, they will come out and fix some of these things for you under the home warranty. And when you sell the house, that home warranty transfers to the new people. So this home inspection and all these things working together, I think could be a big deal to be able to increase your business and what you do and what they do, because I just see that those two working together, you guys would be able to, and they're both so important. It's not one of the things I like that you guys do is you really care. Like, this isn't just, you're not just here to make money. Yes, we're all in business to make money. I don't sell real estate just to get a check, though. I love helping people and doing all that. And that's what you do with home inspections. You love doing what you do. And I think being able to tag team up with the home warranty thing, I think that might be able to push, it might put, I don't know, it's the world-class service I think that we could put together for everybody.
Kind of the complete package.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think we need to get with the home warranty company, and you and me, we sit down and come up with a plan on how we could best service a client in order to make sure that they're as covered as they possibly can be. Because a home warranty, when you buy a house, if you don't have that pre-home warranty in place, they won't fix things that happened before. I mean, they're an insurance company, right? They're a warranty. They're going to fight everything that they can for the most part. But they are there and they do a good job when it's... But here's one of the things, we're going to talk to a home warranty company about this. If their basement was finished, the home warranty company will come in and give them a new water heater and they're not going to replace the carpet. They're not going to do any of that. That's your homeowner's insurance. So there's and we're going to have a home warranty guy come in because there's some issues that I have as a realtor that we kind of... that we don't agree on, because there's certain things like that. If it was working when you moved in and now it's not, where's the line drawn? One of the things, before we go, one of the things I like that you guys do, and that was different from some of the other home inspection companies we had used before, you guys don't scare people off. And here's one of the things I think that a lot of home inspectors gonna get a chip on their shoulder about, that I'm grateful you guys don't do, because it actually killed it for us with them. Is we were literally walking into a house. Now we knew this house needed work. Like we saw, obviously we saw the house before we got in there. It was like half done. It needed work. But the home inspector comes out and the first thing he said was, "Hey, I hope you like to do a lot of repairs." He didn't even say hi. That was the first thing out of this guy's mouth. And well, we already knew that, so we worked through it and everything, but you do a really good job of helping people know what's important and what really matters. You're not blowing smoke. You're telling them the truth. But X is important. Y doesn't matter so much. It is not code. It's not, I'm going to tell you about it because that is my job and my duty. But at the same time, this really matters. You need to get this fixed today. This is safety. This one, when you get time, get this one fixed. It's totally different.
And I think I personally believe a lot of inspectors scare people because they don't know what they're talking about.
I agree with you.
They learned how to be an inspector out of a book. They might have been a plumber at one point, but now they're doing full home inspections and they have no clue about electrical. And they just know that, double tap is bad. And so they say that, boom, it's completely... And a lot of double tap can get fixed less than $10.
Oh, it's so... A new fuse.
A new breaker. It's a brand new panel box. There's tons of spots. Breaker, pop it in, you're good to go. So they scare people because they don't know how much or how to fix stuff. So, and we're not there to tell you how much it's going to cost and all that.
You're not giving quotes, but you have an idea.
You have to just be able to say, hey, these are the issues. If you know the issue, then you don't freak people out because they realize you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. And
they're not freaked out about it.
If you're not nervous, I'm not nervous.
If something is crazy, you have to tell them, like, hey, dude, this is crazy. It has to be addressed.
And that's so important. It's yes, you're working with agents all the time, talking to agents, but you're there for the buyer. They're your client. And so they need the truth.
That's who refers me.
They need the truth.
Right.
They need to know.
And, and then again, you still have to balance, you have to balance how you say stuff with your clients, because some clients, you might be the same exact house. Let's just take a scenario. Same exact house. You walk into it. These buyers, they've scraped every dollar together to buy their first house. They're super excited about this house, and they don't have a dime extra for remodel. And an issue that is $500 might be huge to them because they don't have $500.
Yeah.
And they can't use their lights unless this issue's fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. Or they have never lived in a house this nice. And to you, this house might not be that nice, but you can't come out saying that.
Yep. The way we look at it, I agree with you 1,000%. It's let the buyer buy the house that the buyer wants to buy.
Right. Inform them, not scare them.
Yeah.
Inform them, hey, these are the issues, these ones that are serious, these ones that are not so serious. But don't come in there saying, like, oh my gosh, freaking out, and when it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, you don't
now,
need
if the house is on fire, run outside and tell them not to come in.
Yeah.
Okay, and don't lie.
Yeah, you can't.
Be truthful, but inform them. And that's where it goes back to just having an inspector that has actual experience, because you can inform them and not scare them because you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. So I think we should end on that.
Yep.
That is perfect. I think that's one of the biggest things you guys do a really good job at.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.